You've probably sung a Shakira song without even realizing it. Maybe in the shower, maybe at an awkward karaoke session with friends, maybe at that World Cup concert that stopped the entire planet. Her voice entered your life at some point and, let's face it, never left. But what do you really know about the woman behind all those hits that have marked entire generations? Most people know Shakira from the stage, that magnetic presence that dances, sings, and mesmerizes crowds of 2 million people on a beach in Rio de Janeiro. But few know the girl from Barranquilla who was rejected from the school choir because her voice vibrated too much. Few know that she wrote her first poem at age 4, that her contract was almost canceled after 2 albums that didn't take off, or that she learned English from scratch to conquer the American market with the same determination she had when she learned to dance as a child. Shakira's story is one of those that seem made up because they're too good to be true. A Colombian woman of Lebanese and Catalan origin, raised in a vibrant Caribbean city, who transformed rejection into fuel, failure into learning, and pain into art. A woman who built a musical empire without giving up who she was, who founded an organization for underprivileged children at the age of 20, and who, decades later, is still able to break records on TikTok and dominate cultural conversations around the world. If you think you already know everything about her, prepare to be surprised. In this content, you'll discover facts and curiosities that the media rarely reveals, the behind-the-scenes story of a journey built with talent, courage, and an admirable stubbornness to never give up. Shakira's biography has layers that go far beyond the hits, awards, and famous relationships. And each of these layers has something powerful to teach about overcoming challenges, identity, and the true price of success. Come with us, because this story is worth every minute. Shakira Isabel Mebarak Rapal was born on February 2, 1977, in the city of Barranquilla, on the northern coast of Colombia. A hot, vibrant city full of rhythm, which seemed to already announce what that girl would bring to the world. Shakira's story begins right there, amidst the warmth of the Colombian Caribbean and a family that breathed culture. Shakira's father, William Mebarak Chadid, was an American writer of Lebanese descent, and he planted the first seeds of her love for words and art. Her mother, Nydia Rapal, brought Catalan roots to this unlikely and incredibly rich mix. Growing up in this multicultural environment was like learning several languages at once. Only instead of words, it was artistic and cultural references that came through the front door. This fusion of influences, Arab, European, and Latin American, shaped from an early age the unique style that Shakira's biography would reveal over the years. It's no coincidence that her voice, dance, and lyrics possess a blend that no producer could have invented from scratch. It was genuine, it was hers, it was Barranquilla. Who would have guessed that a poem written at age 4 would be the first step towards a career that would move billions of people around the world? Well, that's exactly what happened to Shakira. Even in preschool, she was already scribbling verses with a maturity that left adults speechless. Poetry was the first language she mastered, even before fully understanding what music was. Her father, William, played a decisive role in this artistic discovery. Shakira's story goes that, after a difficult time in the family, he gifted his daughter a typewriter, like passing on a torch. It was then that writing became something sacred to her. And from writing to music was a natural, almost inevitable step, like water flowing downhill. The influence of Arab culture, inherited from her paternal family, brought something that no dance school could teach: belly dancing. Shakira learned the movements as a child, and they became part of her artistic identity in such an organic way that it seemed her body simply already knew what to do. This exotic and captivating element would later become one of the hallmarks of her international success. If you think Shakira's career has been a red carpet path from the start, prepare to be surprised. While still in school, she tried out for the choir and was rejected. The reason? The teacher thought her voice was too energetic, that her characteristic vibrato disrupted the group's harmony. A 10-year-old child hearing that her voice, that same voice that would enchant the whole world, wasn't good enough. It hurts just to imagine. The criticism didn't stop there. Many people around her doubted the potential of that restless girl from Barranquilla. Some said she was too good at dancing, but musically she didn't have the profile to stand out. It's curious how the biggest critics tend to appear precisely when the person most needs support. Shakira heard all of that, and instead of swallowing the words of others, she transformed them into fuel. Her artistic development during this period was almost a silent response to every no she received. She continued composing, continued dancing, continued rehearsing. Her persistence wasn't stubbornness, it was awareness. Shakira knew, deep down, that she had something special to offer, and no choir teacher could take that away from her. This is one of the most powerful lessons Shakira's story carries for anyone facing rejection today. Shakira began appearing on local television programs in Barranquilla, showcasing her talent to ever-growing audiences. The performances were simple, without much production, but there was something about that girl that captivated viewers. The stage, even a small one, already seemed like the right place for her. It was during one of these performances that the encounter that would change everything happened. A theater producer named Monica Ariza saw her perform and was impressed by the young artist's energy and charisma. Monica didn't just see a child dancing well. She saw commercial potential, a star in the making who just needed the right environment to shine. This kind of encounter, the right eye at the right time, is something Shakira's career owes a great deal to. The decision to move to Bogotá was a turning point. Leaving Barranquilla, her hometown, her family, her comfort zone, requires courage that goes far beyond age. Shakira was about 10 years old when this possibility began to take shape, and her family took a chance with her. Bogotá represented access to the real Colombian music market, and it was there that the biggest doors were. Arriving in Bogotá with a dream in your pocket and little more than talent and determination would be enough for most people to give up. But Shakira went ahead, and at 13 years old, she signed her first contract with Sony Colombia, an achievement that very few artists manage at that age. It was the formal recognition that that voice, that presence, that girl from Barranquilla deserved a real chance in the music market. Shakira's first album, Magia, released in 1991, featured compositions written by Shakira herself, which was already impressive for a teenager. However, commercial success did not come as expected. Sales were modest. Radio stations didn't embrace the songs enthusiastically, and the album ended up going almost unnoticed by the general public. 2 years later, in 1993, came Peligro, with equally timid results. 2 albums, little return, much learning. What many people don't know is that Sony even considered terminating her contract after those initial results. Imagine the weight of that. 2 albums released, lukewarm reviews, and a hesitant record label. Anyone could have interpreted that as a sign to change plans. But Shakira's career didn't follow common logic, and she used that period of uncertainty to refine her songwriting, her musical identity, and her artistic vision. After 2 albums that didn't chart, anyone in their right mind would ask, is it worth continuing? Shakira not only continued, but came back strong with her 3rd album. Released in 1995, Pais Descalzos was a watershed moment in Shakira's career and in the history of Latin pop. The album delivered a raw, emotional, and authentic sound that the Latin audience was waiting for without even realizing it. The single Estoy Aquí exploded on radio stations throughout Latin America with impressive speed. It was a song about loss and new beginnings, universal themes sung with an intensity that few artists can convey. People identified with it immediately, and Shakira went from a hesitant promise to a name everyone wanted to know. International success began to take shape there, in that chorus that stayed in your head for days. Pais Descalzos sold over 4 million copies worldwide and definitively placed Shakira on the Latin music map. Her first tour followed soon after, filling concert halls from north to south of the continent. It was the first time she had experienced firsthand the power of a real connection with a mass audience, of seeing an entire crowd singing every word of her songs. This experience forever shaped the artist she would become. With the success of Pais Descalzos still echoing throughout Latin America, Shakira didn't rest on her laurels. In 1998, she released the album Donde Están los Ladrones, a work that further elevated her art and solidified her name as one of the greatest voices in Latin pop. The album's title came from a curious episode. Her suitcase containing all the lyrics was stolen at the Bogotá airport, and she had to rewrite everything from scratch. Sometimes the universe forces us to create something even better. It was during this period that a key figure entered the scene for the next step in Shakira's career, Emilio Estefan, the legendary Cuban-American producer responsible for launching Latin artists onto the world market. The partnership with Estefan brought a sonic refinement without sacrificing the identity Shakira had built. It was like having a detailed map to a territory she was about to conquer. The album earned her Latin Grammy nominations and solidified Shakira as an artist with continental reach, with her songs playing from Mexico to Argentina, from Spain to Brazil. Critics, who had previously turned their noses up at her, began to recognize her as a composer and performer of rare talent. This recognition was not merely symbolic. It was the passport she needed to take the next leap. Conquering the American market is the dream and nightmare of every Latin artist. The language barrier alone has already brought down promising careers. Shakira knew this, and instead of hiring someone to write her lyrics in English, she decided to learn the language herself, with the same obsessive dedication she put into everything in life. She studied English intensely, immersing herself in the language until she felt capable of creating in it with the same authenticity she always had in Spanish. The result of this effort came in 2001 with the release of Laundry Service, her first English-language album and one of the biggest musical phenomena of the early 2000s. The album mixed rock, pop, and Latin rhythms in a way that sounded completely new to American ears. Wherever became an immediate global hit, playing on radio stations in dozens of countries simultaneously and introducing Shakira to an audience that barely knew her name until then. Laundry Service sold over 13 million copies worldwide and transformed Shakira from a Latin star into a global pop phenomenon. Her performances on Saturday Night Live and at major American award shows cemented her face and dance moves in the collective memory of an entire generation. It was impossible to turn on the television during that period without encountering that Colombian woman with wavy hair moving her body in a way that seemed to defy the laws of physics. If Laundry Service opened the door to the global market, Hips Don't Lie kicked that door far away. Released in 2005 in partnership with rapper Wyclef Jean, the song became one of the best-selling singles in pop music history, reaching #1 on the charts in more than 55 countries simultaneously. It was almost impossible to be anywhere on the planet that year without hearing that unmistakable beat coming from somewhere. Shakira had become a truly global phenomenon. The collaboration with Wyclef Jean was surgically perfect, uniting Shakira's Latin charisma with the Haitian rapper's Caribbean flow in a way that transcended cultural and linguistic boundaries. Shortly after, she shared the stage with Beyoncé in the music video for Beautiful Liar, solidifying her place among the biggest pop stars on the planet. Being alongside Beyoncé wasn't just a musical feature. It was a seal of approval from the American market, the most competitive and demanding market in the world. The world tours that followed broke audience and box office records on every continent. Shakira performed for audiences of hundreds of thousands of people who sang along in Spanish to songs they barely understood, but felt deeply. That's the power of music when it's genuine. It doesn't need translation. It goes straight to the body and soul of the listener. There's a combination in the world capable of uniting billions of people at once: football and music. And Shakira had the rare privilege of starring in this fusion not once, but twice in the history of the World Cup. In 2010, when South Africa hosted the most-watched tournament on the planet, she released Waka Waka, the official song of the FIFA World Cup. What happened next went down in the history books of music and sport. Waka Waka became the most viewed World Cup music video of all time, accumulating billions of views on YouTube and transforming that catchy chorus into the soundtrack of an entire generation. The song mixed African rhythms, Latin pop, and a contagious energy that made anyone want to get up and dance, regardless of country, language, or team affiliation. It was pure Shakira, connecting cultures with lightness and joy. For years later, in Brazil, she returned to the 2014 World Cup with La La La, once again bringing her music to the heart of the biggest sporting event on the planet. 2 World Cups, 2 iconic songs, a legacy that very few artists in history have managed to build. The Shakira World Cup has almost become a concept of its own, something people automatically associate with the celebrations of the World Cup. Behind all the hits, world tours, and red carpets, there's a woman with an emotional history as intense as her music. Shakira's first major public relationship was with Antonio de la Rua, son of former Argentine President Fernando de la Rua. The two were together for over 10 years, a period that coincided with some of the most important moments of her international rise. The relationship ended in 2010, but left deep marks on her perspective on love and life. It was during the 2010 World Cup, the same one where Waka Waka conquered the world, that Shakira met Spanish defender Gerard Piqué, who played for the Spanish national team. The encounter seemed like a movie script. The biggest Latin singer in the world and one of the greatest defenders in European football falling in love backstage at an event that brought the entire planet together. Shakira and Gerard Piqué had a relationship of more than 10 years, had 2 children together, Milan and Sasha, and formed one of the families most followed by the international media. Family life brought a new dimension to her art and her worldview. Being a mother changed her priorities, her routine, and inevitably her music. She herself has always spoken openly about how motherhood transformed her, deepening her capacity to love and also her vulnerability as an artist. Her children became one of her greatest motivations, both for raising children and for overcoming the most difficult moments. Shakira's separation from Gerard Piqué, made public in 2022, was one of the most talked about moments in the world media that year. But Shakira, true to her style, transformed her pain into art, as she has always done throughout her life. What many saw as a personal crisis, she turned into one of the most creative and courageous phases of her career. And as always happens with her, her human side and her artistic side walk hand in hand, feeding each other in ways that only she knows how. There is a type of legacy that goes far beyond music charts and awards accumulated throughout a career. Shakira understood this early on, in her first years of success, when she decided that her platform of visibility would also serve to transform the reality of children who did not have the same opportunities as her. In 1997, at only 20 years old, and with the success of Pais Descalzos still fresh, she founded the Pais Descalzos Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing quality education for vulnerable children in Colombia. The Pais Descalzos Foundation is not a decorative project created to improve a celebrity's public image. It's a real initiative, with schools built, teachers trained, and thousands of children served in regions affected by poverty and the Colombian armed conflict. Shakira has always been personally involved in the foundation's decisions and direction, treating the cause with the same seriousness she gives to her music. The name chosen for the organization is no coincidence. It's a tribute to the album that changed her life and a reminder that she has never forgotten where she came from. Shakira's philanthropic work has also gained international recognition. She was named a UNICEF ambassador and participated in global initiatives focused on early childhood education, taking her voice beyond the stage and recording studio. In speeches at the United Nations and meetings with world leaders, she firmly defended the idea that investing in education is the most powerful way to break cycles of poverty. And she did so not as a slogan, but as someone who genuinely believes in every word she says. When it comes to awards and recognition in Shakira's career, the numbers are impressive in themselves. 3 American Grammys, 12 Latin Grammys, an Emmy, a Golden Globe, and dozens of other international awards make up a list that very few artists in the history of music have managed to build. But what makes this recognition even more significant is that it transcends generations, continents, and different musical styles, something that only happens when talent is genuine and dedication is unwavering. Shakira's impact on global Latin music goes far beyond sales figures and award ceremonies. She was one of the first Latin artists to conquer the American market without abandoning her cultural identity, paving a path that artists like J Balvin, Bad Bunny, and Maluma would follow years later. The Latin pop that dominates the world charts today owes much of its foundation to the pioneering work she did back in the 2000s, when nobody believed that Spanish-language music could compete on equal footing with the American mainstream. Shakira has also become a symbol of strength and Latin representation in a broader sense. She has proven that a Latina woman can be an artist, songwriter, producer, mother, philanthropist, and activist without having to choose between these roles. Her journey inspires not only those who want to pursue a career in music, but anyone who has ever heard that they weren't good enough, that their voice was too much, that their dream was too big. For all these people, Shakira's story is an answer in the form of art. The legacy she has built over more than 3 decades of her career is one that withstands the test of time because it was built on solid foundations: authenticity, hard work, the courage to reinvent herself, and a genuine commitment to what she believes in. And the most fascinating thing is that this legacy is still being written, because Shakira is not an artist of the past. She is, as she always has been, a force of the present. The music industry has changed radically in recent years, and artists who haven't adapted to the digital world have simply disappeared from relevant conversations. Shakira not only adapted, she became one of the most impressive examples of digital reinvention in contemporary music. With a massive presence on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, she achieved something few artists with more than 2 decades of career manage: to be equally relevant to those who have known her since Pies Descalzos, and to those who discovered her yesterday in a viral trend. The release of BZRP Music Sessions Volume 53, in partnership with Argentinian producer Bizarrap in early 2023, was one of the most talked about moments in global pop culture that year. The song broke records on Spotify, dominated TikTok within hours, and placed Shakira at the center of all digital conversations simultaneously. What could have been just another collaboration turned into a global cultural phenomenon, proving that Shakira's career doesn't live on nostalgia, it lives in the present and the future. The strategy of releasing targeted singles instead of relying exclusively on full albums demonstrates an intelligent understanding of current music consumer behavior. Global collaborations with artists from different generations and styles broaden their reach without diluting their identity. Each release is designed to circulate on digital platforms with its own life, generating conversations, memes, dances, and discussions that keep their name organically and powerfully in the spotlight. What Shakira's new digital phase teaches anyone who follows her career is that relevance has no expiration date when it comes with the courage to reinvent oneself. She could very well live off nostalgic shows celebrating her greatest hits, and no one would complain. But she chose to keep creating, continued taking risks, and continued surprising. And it was precisely this energy of constant reinvention that led her to star in one of the grandest and most exciting events of her career, a show that brought an entire city to a standstill. On May 2nd, 2026, Copacabana became the epicenter of world music. Shakira's free mega show in Rio de Janeiro, part of the Todo Mundo no Rio project, gathered an estimated audience of 2 million people on Brazil's most famous beach, making that night one of the most memorable in the history of live concerts worldwide. To get an idea of the event's scale, just compare it to other music giants who have performed in Copacabana, and even then the number is impressive. The choice of Rio de Janeiro was not random. Brazil has always been one of the countries where Shakira has one of the most passionate and loyal fan bases on the planet, an audience that sings her songs in Spanish with an emotion that goes far beyond the language. Seeing 2 million people gathered on a beach singing Hips Don't Lie, Waka Waka, and all the hits from a career spanning decades was a scene that needed no caption. It was simply human, collective, and breathtaking from beginning to end. This show wasn't just a musical event, it was a symbol of an artist who, even after more than 3 decades in the business, is still capable of moving crowds with the same strength and authenticity as that girl from Barranquilla who was once rejected from a school choir. Shakira's story reached Copacabana with 2 million witnesses, and the message was clear: overcoming challenges and achieving success have no limits, and the best show may always be yet to come. The story of a girl rejected from a school choir who became the biggest free concert in Copacabana's history is not just an inspiring biography. It's a mirror, and the inevitable question that lingers is, what voice inside you is still waiting to be heard? Shakira's story doesn't end here, and neither does yours. Every great legacy is built one step at a time, one song at a time, one courageous decision at a time. If there's one thing this journey clearly teaches us, it's that overcoming challenges and achieving success aren't destinations. They're choices that are renewed every day. And the best time to make that choice is now, exactly where you are, with what you have. If this content inspired you, surprised you, or made you think differently about your own story, then it has served its purpose. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow much more content like this. There are many more powerful stories to tell, and the next one might be exactly the one you needed to hear today.